Right, welcome back to another video on this channel. Today we are discussing the topic of West Ham United Football Club because, as the title does suggest, they seem to be in a little bit of bother at this moment in time. They currently find themselves in the relegation zone, 1 point from safety and of course 2 points from bottom spot. And yep, they've just suffered defeat against Spurs away from home and yep, makes it one win in their last 11 Premier League games, and that one win happened to be against Frank Lampard's Everton. And even as a Chelsea fan who is pretty fond of Frank Lampard as a human being overall, I must admit, even I can be the first one to admit that, Everton under Frank Lampard were feeble, they were destined to lose games, and to be honest, every single Premier League club that has been on the poor run of form, like West Ham have been for the last 11 games, have picked up their rare wins against Frank Lampard's Everton. And yep, even before that, their last win before that Everton game was against Bournemouth well before the World Cup, a few weeks before the World Cup started in early November. So yeah, I think it's fair to say that West Ham have been on some pretty dreadful form this season. Like I said, they're currently 18th in the Premier League table, and it's a little bit interesting to see how far West Ham have fallen, especially given how well they've done over the last 2 seasons. And you see how good of a job David Moyes did at West Ham in recent years when he took over in 2019-20, scaved off relegation well in that season, and then took them to dizzying heights the season after, barely missing out on Champions League football in the last few weeks of the season, getting West Ham into a Europa League run where they got to the semi-finals and were really unlucky not to get to the final and even win the tournament, and then carried on the momentum when a lot of people, including myself of course, thought that West Ham would drop off the season after, which of course was the 21-22 campaign just gone. They got into a Conference League place, and again we're actually competing for a Champions League spot for quite a long period of the season, to be fair, and only kind of dropped off in the last few months or weeks. And this season they've been a complete shadow of themselves really. They've been nowhere near the same team that was, so resolute, so organised, structured defensively, and was bursting forward in numbers and creating havoc for Premier League teams, and of course winning a lot of football matches, which of course they're not doing right now. And if I'm right in saying, I'm fairly sure that most West Ham fans want David Moyes out, and I think most of them have wanted him out now for a hot minute, especially given how poor they've been this season. And to be fair, when that opinion arose from West Ham fans and the calls were being made to sack him, at first I was thinking it's a little bit harsh, especially given how well he's done and the success he's achieved as West Ham manager and the heights he's taken them to in recent years. I almost thought he was a victim of his own success. But now West Ham fans, I do see it, I can't lie, because obviously West Ham have been dreadful, especially recently. As I said, 1 win in 11 games, which for the squad West Ham have and the players and the personnel West Ham have at their disposal is nowhere near acceptable, I think it's fair to say. And I do think of it, right, it does get to a stage with a lot of managers in football where, maybe they've run their course, maybe he's taken them as far as he can take them, and obviously it's looking stale right now. As I said, he's not setting them up the same way whatsoever, and even if he is, they're not playing to the same performance levels as they were last season and in previous seasons. So I do think at this moment in time, and I think a lot of West Ham fans would agree with me on this one, that maybe the writing is on the wall for David Moyes right now, and I think they obviously have a massive game at home against Nottingham Forest next weekend, who are on obviously a very good run of form right now. If Moyes, doesn't win that, or God forbid he loses it, I think his job could be under massive pressure, and I think it's probably the right moment for him to go at this stage. And as I said, a lot of West Ham fans do share my opinion on that one, I know, because again, they've made some very good signings on paper in the summer. You think of Lucas Paqueta, who was wanted by a lot of elite European clubs, the same with Gianluca Scamacca, and David Moyes, unfortunately for whatever reason, just hasn't been able to get the best out of these players. And I mean, I know Paqueta has actually picked it up a little bit in recent weeks and has obviously got himself injured, but Scamacca has been a complete shadow of what he has shown in recent years for Sassuolo and the reason they paid so much money for him in the first place. So yeah, I think the writing's on the wall for David Moyes right now, to be fair, and it doesn't look like it's going to get any better really. And yeah, like I said, just with the squad West Ham have and the personnel and the players West Ham have overall and the quality they've got in their squad, they should be nowhere near a relegation battle, to be honest. They should be at the very least competing for a top half Premier League finish, at the very least. If you go through their squad, they've got 2 very good goalkeepers for this level in Fabianski, who isn't as good as he used to be, but they've got Areola as well. If you look at their backline, Nea Fagerd, who's been a really good signing, Kurt Zouma, Ogbonna, Kehrer, of course, who is in the Germany squad and has been a decent player for PSG in recent years. You've got Declan Rice, who's a top-class midfielder, Lucas Paqueta the same. Then you've got Jared Bowen, who of course is on the brink of the England squad, Mikel Antonio, who's a very good striker, Scamacca, who's a very good striker when he's used right. So there's little to no debate that West Ham have the squad to be nowhere near this relegation battle. And to be honest, I made a mid-season Premier League predictions video recently, if you want to go and check that out, cheeky plug, but I made it like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I said that West Ham would pick up a bit of form and finish around, I think, 13th or 14th, I said, because I thought they'd have a little bit of an upturn in form, especially given they had a little bit of a bright spark when they beat Everton and then drew at St James's Park and then got a draw against Chelsea at the London Stadium there, all in the space of 2 or 3 weeks. But yeah, today's loss really compounds the horrendous form they have been on, and of course puts them into the relegation zone, so it's clear to see that there is a problem at West Ham right now. And look, David Moyes or no David David Moyes. Do I think West Ham will get relegated? I don't think so. I think that maybe they could benefit from a new manager who could maybe give them a little bit of a bounce and maybe even get them, competing for a mid-table finish, because I think that, as I said, this West Ham squad has a lot of potential for a new manager to come in and get an instant reaction out of them. But I think regardless of whether David Moyes is in charge, as I said, I think they should be, getting themselves saves of relegation. I think there's 110% three worse teams than West Ham, so I wouldn't be too worried about relegation, West Ham fans. But that said, if they keep going the way they're going, they could be in some danger, and West Ham fans will be no stranger to the phrase of too good to go down, because if you do remember, if you were around West Ham fans for that 02-03 season when they finished with 42 points and somehow still got relegated, they had some quality players in that team. If you think of Jermaine Defoe, Freddie Canute, Michael Carrick, Joe Cole, Paolo Di Canio obviously as well, so West Ham fans are well used to the phrase too good to go down and probably do not buy into it because of how that season went, so it's a risky saying to say, and West Ham are going to need a little bit of divine inspiration to keep themselves up, and are going to need an upturn in form massively if they are going to comfortably survive relegation, let alone survive it full stop. But yeah, West Ham fans, let me know if I've hit the nail on the head, or am I talking absolute shit? Let me know in the comment section below and answer this question for me, West Ham fans. All doom and gloom factors aside, do you think West Ham will survive relegation this season, or will you be playing championship football next season? Let me know in the comment section below. And yeah, leave a like on the video if you did enjoy it. It would be massively appreciated, and also if you could subscribe to the channel as well, that would also be hugely appreciated, because we're looking to hit 2,000 subscribers on this channel as soon as we possibly can, so it would be massively appreciated, and any single one of you that hits that subscribe button would be an absolute legend and would be helping me get there as soon as possible. So yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video, and yeah, chat to you later.